Hello there, Pursuing Freedom friends. Thanks as always for tuning in. If you've been here before, welcome back. And if it's your first time tuning into the show, thanks for being here. I've got a great show in store for you today, and it's just a solo cast here with yours truly. I don't know if you've noticed on my social media feeds or if you're on my email list, but I recently began my Wednesday webinar series, which is a bi-weekly free webinar. And the reason I decided to do this is that over the past however many years that I've been teaching workshops in real estate offices and mortgage companies and title companies, I've created all of these classes that are just sitting there in my desktop. And I thought to myself, why waste this content? Why don't I just start re-releasing this to the public through a Wednesday webinar series and give more people access to these strategies that can help you with everything from your mindset, your decisiveness, your belief in yourself, goal setting, visioning, reflection, and action planning, all the way through niche marketing, time management, systems, automations, scaling, leverage, financial freedom, like all the topics that I'm so passionate about. And the reason I would love to share this content with you for free is because I know that in my journey, I spent a lot of time and money invested in myself on coaches and conferences and workshops and books and anything that I could consume in order to help me get past my own limiting beliefs and the roadblocks that were the impediments to me evolving as not only a business professional, but as a person. Because if you know my story, if you've been listening for a long time, you know that in the early years of entrepreneurship, I struggled quite a bit to create that consistent income. And it was out of sheer desperation and a lot of credit card debt that I hired my first coach and just said, tell me what to do and I'll do it. And even when I was following the action plan out of that desperation and need for deals and dollars, I never really felt aligned or authentic in what I was doing. It was like I was putting on somebody else's shoes, which I've joked before, but if I were to put on my husband's shoes, that he has a different shoe size than me, I could certainly walk down my driveway and not get stones in my feet, but it wouldn't be very comfortable, right? And sometimes I feel like business strategy is a little bit like that. It's like, okay, here's the plan, just follow this plan to a T and you're going to get results. And the truth of the matter is it is accurate. That is true advice. Like if you go to a training and you follow the plan that's given to you, whether it feels good or not, you are going to get results, but you may not find fulfillment. And what I've learned in my journey of learning from and spending time with highly successful people. Now, the way I define success is not just money, but when we hear the word successful, we think money, right? Well, in the years I've spent with people that have achieved that external success of business and financial, not every one of them is feeling fulfilled in the other gardens of their life, in their relationships, health, emotional, spiritual, etc. And I've seen people get to the point where they're making a lot of money, but the business is consuming their life and they're second guessing their own ambition for financial independence. And I've also met people that seem to have it all figured out, like the best of both worlds. They live an epic life. They take bucket list vacations with their friends and family. They take time off. They seem rested and at ease, and yet they are financially independent and they have a growing income while working seemingly less hours. And so I've always been curious about that for obvious reasons. Like, how do we earn more while working less? And in this, I guess, evolution of my nearly 20 years of trying to figure out how to get past the stories in my own brain that are holding me back, I started to just get really curious about what are the fulfilled, successful people doing? Like, what's the thing that they have in common? And one of the things that I've learned is that number one, they spend time with people that remind them of their future. They get into communities, they hire coaches, they go to those conferences, and I always say, like, they put themselves in the room with people that remind them of their future. And we are the product of the people that we spend the most amount of time with. And even you taking the time to listen to this podcast is an investment of your time into yourself and the belief that deep down inside you feel called to something more and you are meant for more, you deserve more. And the reality is that we're always going to be called for more. It doesn't matter what milestone we accomplish or achieve. As soon as we're done celebrating that achievement, we typically are on to the next desire. And even everything in your current reality is merely an outcome that was once an idea, maybe just a pipe dream for you, the house you live in or the car you drive. Like everything was once an idea that became a wish or a hope or a desire, and then it became your reality, and then it became your normal. And as we continue along this journey, it never ends. Like we don't stop expanding or having a desire for more. And so rather than resist that, we have to figure out how to not be afraid of more with the perception that more outcome in our life, more abundance means more effort. Because that's the thing that holds us back. It's like this belief, this association we have that more money means more work, that creates resistance around the desire for more, even though deep down inside, of course, we would be happy if we had more. Like if somebody gave you triple your income and then cut your workload in half, I don't think anybody would be resistant to that. So the only resistance around more is a perception of more time spent, more hours logged. And in this curiosity of, what are the highly successful and happy people doing? The ones that I was drawn to are the ones that have found a way to be at ease, to be at peace, while also be on the journey of expansion. And in the first Wednesday webinar that happened on Wednesday, April 10th, I shared 3 simple changes that were very difficult to embrace in my life that became the absolutely life-changing, life-altering changes that were kind of going against the grain of everything that we've been programmed, every way we've been taught to behave since we were basically in preschool. And I thought that at a minimum, I could come on the podcast in case you missed it, and in case you didn't know that the Wednesday webinar is happening, and just share briefly the cliff notes of the 3 things, the 3 changes that I made in my life, and how you can do the same in yours, in spite of the fact that it feels potentially impossible, maybe even irresponsible. And also to invite you to check out the Wednesday webinar series at pursuingfreedom.com/Wednesday webinar. You can go there anytime and you can get yourself registered for the next one on the horizon. And as I mentioned at the beginning, the topics that we explore, everything from this mindset stuff and the willingness to move towards the dream life that we imagine for ourselves in spite of the fear, because the fear never goes away. So a lot of stuff on mindset. Some people say people don't need the mindset stuff. They just need the action plan. And I'm like, I disagree, because I had the action plan and I closed deals and I made money, but I still didn't find fulfillment until I started to really dig deep onto the mindset stuff, because the mindset piece is the true impediment. Like whatever you believe to be true is going to be the thing that holds you back from trying something that challenges that truth within you, even though that's the only difference between us and those living the life that we desire for ourselves, is their decision to do it in spite of their fear. So we also cover things specifically on lead generating and procuring your ideal client and identifying that client avatar that's going to be the right fit for you, because we're not here to serve everybody. We're here to design a business that fuels a life that we imagine. And I'm really passionate about teaching on time management, scheduling, and boundaries, because the top producers cannot follow the same frenetic pace that those that are struggling to get business create for themselves. It is simply unsustainable. And so whether you are running a breakneck pace trying to get your business off the ground and grow your business, or whether you're running a breakneck pace trying to sustain the volume you've got in place right now, time management and scheduling and boundaries are a huge component of how you can find that state of peace and well-being and satisfaction and ease amidst growing your business and making different decisions as you evolve and grow. We also cover things like systems and automation to streamline your business, to make sure that you create more consistency where you become the bottleneck with your mood and energy and emotions, because we all know that our mood, energy, and emotions are not consistent because we are human beings. And therefore, the activities that move the needle in our business and in our life tend to be inconsistent in conjunction with our mood, energy, and emotions. So really figuring out how to streamline your business so that it operates even if you're not in the mood, that's how we can remove that bottleneck of consistency. And then we cover things like enlisting the help of others, creating opportunities, scaling, leverage, etc. And then finally, what's the point? Like, what's the point of working hard to get big commission checks if we don't have a plan for our money? So many people in our industry have the opportunity to earn at a very high level, far more than most of us ever imagined for ourselves when we started. And yet there are so many that don't have a plan for what to do when the commission checks come in. and they find themselves on a financial roller coaster. So we want to address that. So there's so much great content that's going to be coming out on the Wednesday webinar series. So don't miss out. Make sure to check out that link and get yourself on the list. For today, I just wanted to share the 3 cliff notes. So the first one is that the hardest change I made in my life was to say that mornings are for me. So ever since preschool, we've been programmed to get up and hurry up, get out the door, get going, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. I mean, think about it. If you're a parent, what do your mornings look like? And because that's so deeply ingrained in us, and if you were ever an employee for another company, you had to be there at a certain time, get up, get out the door, get going. But business owners take the time to slow down and reflect on what's working and create a plan for where they're going. And in some cases, we don't create that space for ourselves because we don't think that we've earned the right to do so. So we're busy, 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 but I always joke that busyness is laziness disguised as productivity because it's not being discerning about what really matters most. We're just going through the motions in reactive mode, letting the external world dictate the next right step, or our inbox telling us what to do next, because we haven't slowed down to really imagine the business that we want for ourselves and then make a plan on how to get there, and then regularly take time to reflect on the progress and then pivot as we see fit, because we're here running a business. We're not supposed to be an employee to the external world or to our inbox. We're supposed to be the driver of the productivity as well as the profitability of this business. So first thing is I stopped taking appointments before 10 a.m. Now, obviously, there's exceptions to the rule. If I think that a certain opportunity that's happening before 10 a.m. is going to be a powerful opportunity that could move the needle in my business, or maybe it's just attending a closing, then obviously I make the exception. But because I've made a simple rule that I don't take appointments before 10 and my kids leave the house around 7-ish, I've now created a 3-hour window for myself to work on my mindset myself by reading and reflecting and journaling and listening to meditations and podcasts and all kinds of things. And then I look at the progress and I start planning what needs to happen to get me to my goals. And in some cases, I'm executing on that plan as well in the mornings. I might be getting some marketing created or handwritten notes, or executing on some of the thoughtful ideas that I have that I want to get out there. And I don't allow myself to be hijacked by the external world before I put my oxygen mask on first. And this is a really difficult thing because so many of us have this accidental habitual behavior of getting on our phones before our feet have hit the ground. We're reacting to text messages and emails, and sometimes we're in the rabbit hole of social media before we've even gotten out of bed in the morning. And since most of us don't always wake up sunshine and rainbows in a state of positivity and energy and enthusiasm and happiness, like a lot of us wake up and the first thing we feel is either exhausted or maybe anxious energy about the mountain of things we have to get through today, and worrying if there's going to be enough hours in the day, or maybe we're thinking about our financial stress. But if we're already starting the day in a negative energy state, and then we allow the external world in with all of their demands and their energy and their moods, then we're basically shooting ourselves in the foot as it relates to taking the wheel of ourselves, our energy, our emotions, in order to show up as our very best to the important interactions in our day. And as a result, we find ourselves in that reactive mode. It's so difficult to get off the speeding train once you've got on it, which is the speeding train of reactivity. So taking the time for yourself in the morning to really treat your business like a business owner would, taking time alone in the quiet to not allow distractions in, is one of the most powerful things. And of course it was scary because my anxious energy wants me to keep checking my phone. But I know now that that's not effective. And I don't want to crawl my way to incremental growth. And I don't want you to either. It's incredible how exponential, transformational growth is available to so many of us. And if you look back on your own journey, there were often turning points where you took some kind of leap of faith, or you changed one little thing, and all of a sudden you had a significant increase in business, maybe a 50% increase in business, maybe it doubled. Regardless, exponential growth can be far closer than you've imagined if you're willing to tweak a few things. And this is one of the biggest things that has changed my life. And I am now unapologetic about protecting that morning time, because I understand that is where the power of my ability to accomplish anything and everything I set my mind to and make all my dreams come true, it happens in those morning hours, believe me. Second little tip here, again, we're just going to go through the cliff notes here, is what I like to call the success sandwich. And again, this is a very difficult one to believe can actually change your life and business. But since we've been programmed to get up and hurry up, and that Monday morning is the beginning of the week, so many of us have this anxious energy. Some people call it the Sunday scaries going into Monday. And I don't know if that's you, but here we are. Most of us listening to this, I assume, are real estate professionals, which means that your weekends are often a juggling act of your personal and professional life. You are either doing open houses, or you're doing pre-approvals, or you're writing offers, or you're negotiating the offers on your listings, or whatever, you're doing showings. But you're typically doing that while also trying to juggle your social life. Or if you have a family, you might have children and sports and parents and siblings and friends and sporting events, all kinds of stuff. And so when you get to Monday morning, chances are you're kind of tired. You might be a little bit run down after the busyness of your weekend. And that's just simply the nature of the real estate space, right? And so, what if you could force yourself to slow down on Mondays and resist the urge to say yes to appointments on Monday? And since we're protecting our mornings already, force yourself to take the morning slow and look back on the week before. Make a plan for your day, because you're typically going to have quite a bit of reactivity from all that weekend activity. And then leave your afternoon for white space to catch up on your reactivity, as well as make a plan for your proactivity for the rest of the week. What I mean by that is, when I look at my calendar and I'm about to set an appointment with somebody, I'm not going to suggest a Monday. And if they suggest a Monday, I'm typically going to say that I'm already tied up on Monday. It looks like I have Tuesday afternoon available, or I've got some time on Wednesday at this time, or Thursday at this time. Would any of those times work for you? Now, if that doesn't work for a potential client, or again, an important opportunity, then I can choose to make an exception to the rule. But since I have this rule loosely created for myself, it's really easy for me to not have to make a decision about saying yes or no to Monday, because I've already created the framework for my business plan. And it does not involve me having meetings on Mondays. Mondays are for me. Mondays are for me, my money mindset, money management, marketing planning, not marketing execution, but marketing planning. And when I look back on the week before and I see all the conversations that were had, or the interactions that I had, I can make a plan for what the follow-up looks like. And then I can look at my calendar for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and I can plug that into my calendar. It could be going in my mornings when I'm working on my quiet time and proactive, or it could be appointments that I'm putting in my calendar between Tuesday and Thursday. Regardless, decision-making is energy draining. And if energy is the thing that creates the bottleneck for the consistency in our business, then anything we can do to not dim the light within us and suck the energy out of us is a good thing. So by creating a simple framework like this, I'm reducing decision making. It's just really basic like that. And then if I choose to make an exception to the rule because I have an important opportunity, I can do so. But that's one of the things. Now, the success sandwich is that Mondays are for me and Fridays are for finishing up fun, family, and friends. Now, that doesn't mean I'm off the grid. It just means that I'm planning on having a good time on Friday, because I like to do a focused sprint and then rest and recover. And since the weekend tends to be an unexpected juggling act, no matter what I expect, typically that Friday afternoon phone call about the person who wants to see the property this weekend and hasn't gotten pre-approved yet, it always seems to come right at the end of the day on Friday. And why do you think that is? Because the same reason your business picks up when you go on vacation. It's vacation energy. When you go on vacation, you're in a good mood, your energy is high, you're excited, you're anticipating good things, and all of a sudden that unexpected phone call comes in, and it's almost annoying, right? So by taking my Fridays for fun, family, and friends, I'm curating vacation energy. Again, I'm not making myself unavailable. I'm just not being hard on myself for not grinding it out 7 days a week in my business and feeling bad about myself because my business isn't where I want it to be. So I haven't earned the right to lighten up and have a little fun. The whole point of being self-employed is to enjoy freedom and flexibility. So I prioritize freedom and flexibility by creating fun experiences on Friday, which inevitably lead to the unexpected pop in business. It's ironic, right? But it really does work. And I also said Fridays are for finishing up, because one of the things that happens is our minds get bogged down throughout the weeks when we keep on adding to-dos to our brain. And what I mean by that is we have great intentions, right? You mean to send somebody a birthday card, you forget to do it, you beat yourself up about it, or you meant to do this nice thing for somebody or make that phone call, you forgot to do it, you beat yourself up about it. We're creating this negative cycle. And the reason is that our brains are not designed to store information. Our brains are designed to compute information, which means every time I have a great intention and I put it up there in my noggin, I'm actually bogging myself down further, sapping my energy, derailing my productivity and my ability to catapult to my big dreams. And so what I do is I earmark it for Friday. I've already carved out Friday morning for finishing up all the drudgery and the minutia, those small tasks that I want to get done, but I tend to not get done because I have bigger fish to fry, like handling the phone call from a new lead or putting out a fire on a file or negotiating something, anything that's really high dollar value. Those things have to take priority when they're more time sensitive. So then what happens is those little tasks tend to get postponed, and then sometimes those boxes never get checked. Well, if you have a plan for the day and the time that you do your minutia, Fridays are for finishing up, then now you don't have to worry about it. Just put it on the list for Friday, move on. So you're not storing unnecessary stuff up in your brain, which is clogging your brain and is wearing you down, and it's creating exhaustion and burnout and overwhelm. So then step 3 is that Tuesday through Thursday is the meat of the sandwich. And during that time, I continue to protect my mornings to do reflection, vision, goal setting, action planning. And I think about why I'm self employed. And it helps me remember that I became self employed because I wanted freedom and flexibility, not because I wanted to be tethered to my phone from the moment my eyeballs open to the moment they close at night. And not because I wanted to work 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and be stressed out all the time. I wanted to be self employed because I wanted freedom and flexibility, and it's mine to claim. And so I have to design a schedule that gives me space to have fun and to take care of my health and to take care of my relationships. And when I do this, I show up better to everything I say yes to. So then the things that I'm saying yes to on a Tuesday through Thursday are things that I'm saying yes, like a heck yes. I'm running towards it. This is something I'm choosing to do. It's interest over obligation, and it's very focused. And because I've protected my energy on Monday and Friday, I show up really high energy, which means I'm more inclined to magnetize the right fit clients in my life, like a lighthouse in the storm. And this is the thing that most people don't feel they have permission to do. So all you need to ask yourself is, what excites you today? Who are you today? What type of people energize you today? And when would you like to work? When is your peak energy? And now I'm not talking about the reactivity. That's going to come at you all the time. I'm talking about, when do you want to move the needle? When do you want to accomplish your goals, and with whom? Make the plan and get it done without guilt, without excuse, without apology. Be the boss of your life and transform everything. You have the power to do it. And the only difference between you, me, or anybody else is the willingness to do it. So it's not a matter of whether I can, it's a matter of whether I'm willing. With that being said, make sure to hop over to pursuingfreedom.com/Wednesday webinar. That was your speed dating opportunity to get a small taste of what the workshops are like. And I look forward to seeing you on one of the upcoming calls. And as always, if you're enjoying this content, please be sure to leave a 5-star review where you're consuming it, because it helps us continue to attract amazing guests and help this content get found so we can help more people on the journey to building a life you don't need a vacation from. I love you and appreciate you. Make it an amazing day.